Hey, I'm Corey Wamsley with auroracorialis Publishing. I'm a writing coach as well as an author of 10 books, award-winning, and I run the publishing house. So, because we work with a lot of coaches and speakers, I wanted to talk about how a book is important for your business, and not just because it's super fun to write a book, right? So I have this great graphic that I love to use that really illustrates what happens when you write a book, because it's not a magical process. There are actually things that are in place that help you get from I just wrote a book to I just brought in a new client, or I wrote a book and now I have some new speaking engagements. So I'm going to bring that graphic up on the screen and we are going to talk about it. So this is what I like to call the circle of attraction. And what what goes on here is basically over here we've got this great big thing here, write a book. Like we know that's what we're talking about. This is something that is super simple to help you kind of see where things are going in this process. So let's say you use your book to pitch a speaking gig. And let's say you make $250 because you booked that gig. And that is just specifically like you are getting paid as a speaker. But the way that happened was because you wrote this book and you either gave it to the person who was handling this conference and said, hey, here's my book. I'd really love to be a speaker. Or maybe you've been talking about your book online and the person handling the conference said, you know what, I really need that person to come be the speaker at my event. So you do a speaking gig. Of course, if you're doing a podcast or a TV interview, those usually aren't paid. So that could be just one of those free, get yourself in front of people sort of things. From there, you've got two different paths. So this is choose your own adventure. Let's say that somebody who is either attending the event or listening, watching you, whatever, on the podcast or TV interview becomes a client, because that absolutely can happen. Sometimes when you are speaking to somebody, you're warming up your audience, they're getting to know you a little bit. And if they're at that point where they just needed that nudge and they just knew, hey, this is the right person that I need to work with, they will go ahead and book that front door program. And let's say that that program is $10,000. There, you have just turned your book into $10,000. And this is one of my favorite things about book writing for a business is that a book can become so much more. It is a connection tool. It's something that helps people understand that, you're relatable, that you get them. And, when you've been leading them down this path with a book, they understand you. They are warmed up. It makes it a little bit easier to sell that program. Now, in another scenario, let's say that they have watched you, listened to you, gotten to know you a little bit from the stage podcast, TV interview sort of thing. And from there, they purchase the book. So even if they didn't buy, that package yet, they've purchased the book. So you have actually made a purchase from, something that you potentially did for free. Or if you're at a speaking gig, a lot of times you're able to have a table with your books at it. So people will come up and talk to you afterwards. People will come up and buy books. A book is way better than a business card because it's very hard to throw a book away. I have donated books and I have thrown a couple really awful ones in the recycling bin, but I have never flat out just thrown a book in the trash, especially if it's something that's really a good book. Something that's well written is going to be passed around. And that's another fantastic thing about a book. If somebody buys your book or they, win your book or they receive your book, that book gets passed around. And I have a client who told me a couple of years ago that she watched her book get passed from one person to the next. It got about three, like that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. It got like 3 or 4 degrees away from her. And that person reached out to her and said, oh, I received your book from so-and-so, who my friend did not know. And I actually would love to work with you. So my client got a client from that like multiple degrees of book passing around, which is super cool. So that's kind of the basic piece here, this little circle here at the top. Then, of course, you're selling the book. So if they've purchased it after seeing your interview or going to your speaking event, or if they purchase it from an online source such as Amazon or Barnes & Noble, which are two sources that we guarantee when we publish the books. So the reader reads the book. Yay, mission accomplished, right? That's what you wanted to do to begin with, was to have people read this book. Now, from there, there's a couple of different paths that reader might take. The reader might read the book and become a client. The reader might attend your talk. And then after attending the talk, become the client. So there are all these different pieces in your business, and this is how they work together. This is the way that you use a book for your business. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It really can be easy for you to create a piece that's going to, demonstrate that you're relatable, create that emotional connection between you and the reader, because you really want them to get you and to see that you get them. You want to build that. That's something that's going to help with the relationship piece of it. From there, of course, there are lots of options. When somebody becomes a client, they might become a referral partner, or they might move on to a higher end program, like a 20K program. For this particular example, that one reader, so that one book that you sold, can actually net the coach $30,000 pretty simply. And that's just because you've created a warm connection piece with your book. So I could go on and on and on forever about that, but that is just the simplest way to look at it. If you are watching this and you want a copy of this graphic so you can look at it yourself without, having to pull it up on the screen and stare at it, I know how hard that can be. Let me know. I want you to either go to my website and send me a message on the contact page. That's auroracorialispublishing.com. Go to the contact page, send me a message, and ask for the graphic. Or if you like, comment below and I will send it to you. I want people to understand how a book connects you with your audience, because books can be so powerful for that. So thank you for watching.